A swarm of anti-ICE protests burst into a St. Paul's, Minnesota church in the middle of Sunday service and accused a pastor of working with immigration and customs enforcement. The demonstrators with the Racial Justice Network stormed into the city's church and called out resident pastor David Eastwood, who they accused of moonlighting as the acting field office director for ICE in Minnesota. David Eastwood is listed as an employee with the field office, but it's still unclear if that is the same man as the city's church pastor. The service disruptors chanted slogans heard at the dozens of other protests that have wreaked havoc around Minneapolis, including some invoking slain anti-ICE activist and mom of three Renee Nicole Good's name. Others specifically slandered Eastwood for misrepresenting the ideals of his faith through his support for ICE. The Department for Justice is probing the demonstration at the church for potential violations of civil rights laws, specifically for quote-unquote interfering with Christian worshippers. According to a post on X, the Department of Homeland Security reposted one of the videos of the church protest on X. Remember, the situation reached a tipping point when Brown, a 34-year-old mother, was shot and killed by ICE officer Jonathan Ross during a protest on January 7th in what feds have called an act of self-defense. Since then, the federal government has flooded Minneapolis with even more agents whose immigration enforcement missions are regularly interrupted by protesters. Aditya Vadhavan, my colleague, joins us for more on this. Aditya, we're learning of this situation that has taken place in Minnesota, where you had a swarm of anti-ICE protesters burst open into a church and accuse a pastor of being an agent of the immigration and customs enforcement.
Well, definitely, indeed. At this juncture, there are a mob now formed from Minneapolis Church. It is very, very concerning, development that is coming from Minneapolis. It is definitely a very matter of concern as to how the ICE agents are treating the protesters at this juncture. There is a lot, very, very similar situation that is unfolding, and clearly, if you can see, definitely we can expect a further breakthrough as far as the action of ICE agents in Minnesota is concerned, and definitely it needs to be seen how things unfold in this scenario. Medha.
Aditya, I would please request you to stay on with me. Now, the Pentagon orders about 1,500 active duty soldiers in Alaska to prepare for possible deployment to Minnesota amid large protests over federal immigration enforcement. The troops are prepared to deploy orders in case violence escalates, but it is not yet clear if they will be sent. Aditya, we're now learning that the Pentagon has ordered 1,500 active duty personnel. Walk us through the details of this, please, amid these massive anti-ICE protests that the United States is witnessing.
Well, definitely, multiple protesters across Minneapolis are armed and standing guard against ICE, and definitely at this juncture, Pentagon, the Pentagon has ordered about 1,500 active duty soldiers in Alaska to prepare for possible deployment to Minnesota. This is something unprecedented that is happening. Medha, it has never happened in the history of the United States that military is being deployed in one of the American cities, to tackle the protesters. And recently there have been calls for the resignation of Christine Wayne, who is the head of the Department of Homeland Security in the U.S. And definitely at this juncture, it is a very, very concerning matter as to how the incidents of violence during the ICE agencies coming to the fore, and definitely there has been a crackdown on the illegal immigrants living in the United States, but it needs to be seen how practical is that. Because these concerning developments are coming from the fore, so it needs to be seen how things unfold in this scenario. Megha.